I feel like I had always heard about Benjamin Franklin being in France during the Revolutionary War and kind of like not understood why it was that anyone cared that this dude that was not a general and not doing anything war related was hanging out in France. It wasn't until I understood how important the French were to the colonists like making it that I understood, oh, Benjamin Franklin was like doing something. And that all comes to a head in the Yorktown siege, where the French are like the reason that the colonists make it. The French basically held off British forces long enough for George Washington to finish up the Revolutionary War, right? There were French ships sitting in the harbor making sure that British ships could not get to Cornwallis at the siege of Yorktown. The siege of Yorktown took a minute, right? They started in September. This is the last battle of the Revolutionary War, essentially, in the United States. And the French are basically like, you have until the end of October, Patriot dudes. We got to do this thing. We can't just sit in your harbor forever protecting you from the British. George Washington supposedly actually held the pickaxe for the very beginning of like digging the trenches in September. And then in October, on October 9th of 1781, George Washington actually fires the first cannon fire towards Yorktown. That's like show, right? Like that's about like creating the narrative. But it also is really what happens is that George Washington is in hanging out in the trenches, firing the cannons towards Yorktown to try to get Cornwallis, that final breaking point, so that we can have a United States that is not under British control. But it was the Franco-American forces that allowed the Patriots to get the British out. Without the Franco-American forces, there would not have been anywhere near this level of independence obtained in those early years. In the Battle of Yorktown, the Siege of Yorktown, there are like two standing kind of gunneries hanging out outside, and the French take one, and the Patriots take the other, and that's like they're fighting side by side as the French take on half of the British forces. And they talk about Franco-American forces during the Revolutionary War. They're talking about like French and American forces side by side, and Benjamin Franklin hanging out and schmoozing with all the French ladies was in fact what was allowing this to happen. I'll hang out and be a fangirl for George Washington all day long. He was in fact throwing that first pickaxe and shooting that first cannon, but Benjamin Franklin doing what he was doing was actually pretty important too.